Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today, update number 4 on the journey through the early access of Path of Exile 2. And as I said in my yesterday's video, I started to level up a sorcerer character, trying to do something with Archmage, a bit of mana stacking and so on. And yeah, character is now level 71 and we reached the end game, so we are now having access to this beautiful atlas, and I've done my first couple maps. And I want to give you guys an overview of the build and my thoughts about it and stuff like that, as well as sharing my personal mindset about the game right now. Because honestly, everybody plays the game differently, in my opinion, right? So somebody wants just to get level 100 or beats the game or do whatever they think is fun. For me, it is trying out builds, trying out mechanics and those kind of things. So in one hand, this serves as a kind of a build guide, but also it's just like showing the direction I went if somebody wants to go further, because after I'm done with this video, I'm already planning to level up the next character, which is an attack-based build, since I played 2 caster builds already. And no, it's not like that I enjoy the campaign that much, but, you know, this is just the way I like to play the game, so that doesn't mean that the character is bad, or is good, or is insane, or something like that, okay? Just to keep that in mind. Good. What is this character? Currently, it is an, what is it? A mana stacking Archmage Spark or Arc character, if you want to say it like that. I've been trying both skills, and while Spark is more of a spammy skill, I think Arc is more of the one-shot skill. So basically, I'm putting down my mana Tempest. As soon as I'm in this, my damage goes up ridiculously, so 3.9k. If I move out of it, it goes out to 2.8. So what I do is with Unleash, I pop this, and then I shoot one massive Arc, and that usually kills off the monsters. Before we're gonna go into the skill tree and how I built that with Mind over Matter in combination with CI, stacking energy shield bases to get my form of defense, we're just gonna run a map, or at least not an entire map, because honestly, maps take a lot of time. So these have like 25% life is extra, yes. So we maybe do like, a couple minutes of gameplay so you see how the build is currently working while I'm talking about the core mechanics, I would say, right? So for the average playstyle, usually, as I just explained before, as soon as I see some monsters, I pop down my Mana Tempest and I cast one Arc, and this usually jumps over and kills a bunch of stuff. I don't have a lot of experience with different builds. I know there is some builds that are insanely powerful, so I have no idea if this one is doing good or this one is doing bad. I build it up quite defensively. Means you're gonna see once I just get hit by a couple of monsters, I want to showcase that. Maybe not all of those. Yeah, that should be fine. So you see, as soon as my energy shield is depleted, you might say, wait a second, you have 1 life, you're gonna die, right? But this is not the way it works. So basically, let me actually get some more monsters so it looks a little bit better in that case. If I'm not one-shotting those again. 1 Arc, zip. Again, only 1 monster remaining. Oh, here's like 2 more. So I guess that should work. They're doing a little bit too much damage. But as you see, I'm dropping mana. So why is that? Basically, the keystone Mind over Matter says all damage taken from mana before life. That means whatever damage I get, first my mana and then my life. Then we play CI. CI says your maximum life becomes 1 and you're immune to chaos damage, which is great. But the problem is your life flask becomes completely useless. But also, now we have energy shield protecting our life. As you see, this is like this blue bar over here. This is when you have CI, then it looks like this. I think it looks actually pretty cool. So even though damage incoming would be on mana before life, but there is still energy shield protecting my life. So first energy shield, then mana, and then life. And that's why basically I can tank a lot of stuff, because it's not only my 1700 ES, it's also my over 2000 mana pool that is helping me survive. So basically my mana flask in that case is my life flask, because as long as I have mana, and I have a lot of mana, and as well as like a lot of mana regeneration stuff, I'm gonna be fine. So the problem is, with this like Mana Tempest playstyle, once you stand in here and shoot your stuff, you're gonna drain your mana, as you see. And that basically means now I'm close to dying, because I have no ES and I have almost no mana remaining. So basically, that's why I opted into this kind of like playstyle where I just throw down my Mana Tempest and cast Arc once, and trying to annihilate whatever monster is there. And if there is a tanky monster, then I usually just throw down my Orb of Storms for additional shock chance and lightning exposure. I curse them with conductivity. And then still play like the same way, putting down my Mana Tempest, cast 1 or 2 times, and then try to move out of the Mana Tempest before it just completely drains me. So here is a minion, this is hasted, so we're gonna see a magic monster somewhere. Here it is. So the way I do this here, since we play with Unleash, we can try to get like to 2 stacks because it's a lot more damage, right? But I'm popping down my Orb of Storms, my Mana Tempest, and then I cast like 1, 2, 3 times, and then I try to get out. And we also are kind of like, stunning the monster. So that's quite nice as well. And this is a Corpse Explosion. Shit build! Nah, I'm just kidding. Corpse Explosion is kind of shitty. But as you see, map is gone now. This is how the new mapping system works. So now I have to throw in another map, which I personally don't really like. Because I had maps yesterday where I cleared like 90% of it. And then I had a Mana Siphon and it killed me, and then I lost my entire progress because the map is gone. So that kind of feels, yeah, room for improvement for my personal taste. But this should not be like a video on how I feel about PoE 2 and what would I change, but just to get the idea. So let's grill up some more monsters, and we could potentially do one map with, or at least like a bit of a mapping with a Spark, so you see how that one looks like as well. This is like the more spammy, not think about too much about it. So if we go over here, I have a Spark somewhere, just need to check. Because some of these, like, these are both Sparks, but on the right top side you see this 2 socket, this is 3 socket, right? So always trying to get in the 3 socket ones, and we're gonna use this with probably also Unleash, then Arcane Tempo. Yeah, should be fine, Arcane Tempo. And then what I like to use is, where is the red gem here? Inspiration. Because the problem with, like, on Arc I don't need it because I don't play it like that I permanently cast Arc. But with Spark, things turn around. Because casting Spark non-stop, as you see, it drains my mana insanely well, right? And if I use Inspiration, even though it's not a damage support, it still lowers the mana cost quite tremendously, so I can keep up with my mana while spamming that skill, right? We could play with Pierce here, but I don't want to like min-max it. I just want to showcase how the Spark gameplay looks like. So over here we do kind of the same. We just like run around and cast Sparks, which is usually enough to clear off like, yeah, the classic monsters more or less. And if there is harder packs, we obviously gonna drop down Orb of Storms, Mana Tempest, Conductivity, and so on. As we did on the other thing, right? So here's a couple of harder monsters, dropping down this, casting 1 or 2 times, and monsters should be dead. I just don't want to stand in this Mana Tempest for too long. As I said, if it drains down my mana, I'm gonna be dead. But the thing is, like, with Energy Shield, as you see, my Energy Shield is constantly, like, not existing, right? So this is, I feel, Energy Shield is kind of, like, very bad in that case. Because life builds have like more life or the same life, but they get to use a mana flask, which I cannot do. And without investing heavily into recharge rate and stuff, you know, my ES just don't really exist. Obviously, I can get a lot higher values, like 3k, 4k, or even better at some point with the right gearing. But at the moment, my mana pool is carrying everything. So, there is another monster here, so we go double Orb of Storms, we cast a Conductivity, we get then our Mana Tempest, and this is when we actually have, like, really good damage. But as I said, now I was actually close to dying. If something would have hit me there, I would have been dead just because my mana pool was empty. So it is kind of like a bit of wonky playstyle, I would say. It's not like you're gonna be Rambo and just facing everything, even though I think the character is pretty tanky. Why is that? So first of all, I got res capped, you know? I know this sounds kind of ridiculous, but you know, all the other characters in the campaign were definitely not res capped, so I tried to get res capped, as well as having a Cloak of Flame, which has 40% of physical damage taken as fire damage. Since a witch character does not have access on the tree to any form of evasion or armor or anything like that, you just need to try to get a very high ES pull, or even with Mind of a Matter the way I did it, right? So what does 40% physical damage taken as fire mean? Basically, you get hit by 1000 physical damage, but you only receive 600 physical damage and 400 fire damage, which the 400 fire damage is further mitigated by my fire resistance. So it is quite a lot of damage mitigation, and in my opinion, one of the only sources that you have as a witch character to not get one-shot by physical damage hits. The rest of the gear is basically mana, energy shield, resistance, right? We do have intelligence stacking at some point here with the pure power. We have 2% increased lightning damage per 10 intelligence. We also have the node over here with the arcane intensity, which gives me 3% spell damage per 100 maximum mana, right? So we're stacking intelligence, we're getting mana, because intelligence also gives you flat mana. And so since we're playing CI, we don't care about any life on our gear, okay? All we want is mana, get your resistance done, and then as much energy shield as possible, which I've done on all of these kind of pieces, like 140 mana on my gloves, 1 resistance, good amount of energy shield. Should use my armor scraps to boost this value 20% higher, but I'm kind of out of the armor scraps basically. Boots, the same thing, mana, movement, speed, resistance. For the belt, I'm using a Midnight Braid, which has 50% of damage taken recouped as mana, so that helps me sustaining the mana when I get hit. For the rings, they're both 1 resistance, trying to get a resistance base, because capping resistance or getting items with like double resistance are very, very expensive. We talk about, I don't know, like 10 exalts or something for a ring with double resistance, right? So I tried to get a ruby ring, a topaz, a sapphire ring, or here the prismatic ring, just to get some form of all resistance going. And both of my rings have the same kind of like outcome, which is resistance, mana, and yeah, that's basically it, whatever you get there. ML still sucks. As my weapon, I have here mana with lightning skills, and on my shield I have mana with all spell skills plus a little bit of resistance. I think this shield turned out very good. I think it was a 3-stat shield. I think it had all spells, mana, and I think 26 lightning resistance or something, and then I just slammed it 3 times. I hit lightning damage, I hit energy, so that is pretty good as well. And for my runes, I'm using flat mana runes, as well as just some resistance runes to get me the rest of my resistance, basically. For the tree, we go here for mana regeneration, lightning damage, some energy shield nodes, more mana regen. We go over here with the pure power. We take the controlling magic, for example. We can use arcane intensity, and when I play spark, I usually should get away with the storm charge runes and go over here for increased skill effect duration, so my spark projectiles last longer. On the right side, it's chaos inoculation. On the left side, we're going for more mana and ES nodes, as well as some arcane surge effects. Since we're running the Stormweaver, we have permanent arcane surge, and I think the next lab would actually be the force will to get increased effect of arcane surge, which means more cast speed, more mana regen, and all the good stuff. But it is basically it for the tree. Let's take a look at the gems, how I build it up. We have the main skill, which is either Spark or Arc, whatever you prefer. With Arc, I'm running, I think, Lightning Mastery, Chain, and Unleash. And with Spark, I'm using Arcane Tempo, Unleash with Inspiration, because to reduce the mana cost. Archmage doesn't have anything. I could link this up with Clarity for better mana regen, but I don't have any spirit, since Archmage cost me 100 spirit, which you get from the campaign once you finish all the side quests. Then Conductivity with Impending Doom and Focused Curse, and then we have Orb of Storms with Conduction for the shock chance. Then we have Lightning Exposure, as well as Abundance to have 2 Orb of Storms. And then Mana Tempest with Premeditation, so it gets even more powerful once I stand in a Mana Tempest. And then we have Energy Barrier. And that is basically how this character currently works. But as I said, now I'm gonna try out doing some attack-based builds, see how these feel like, since I tried like Essence Drain, Contagion on the Infernalist, now some Spark and Arc on the Stormweaver, so now I want to try out some attack-based build. I don't think I want to try out melee, even though there is some Monk builds that are actually quite insanely powerful, and I do think that a mana stacking Archmage character could as well become like an absolute beast. But the problem is in the current state of the game, which is obviously early access, and everything is subject to change whatever you do. But I think at the moment in the current balancing, obviously there is no real balancing. They try to do hotfixes every now and then to tune down the most broken skills. But I think there's like 4 or 5 builds that are basically able to push really to the end game. And I'm saying end game, not the early end game where I'm in with like T1, T2, or T3 maps. I'm talking about T15 maps. And I think it's like some Deadeye, some bow character, which is insanely strong. Then you have everything with Comet, right? So cast on crit Comet, cast on freeze Comet, those kind of builds are insanely powerful. Then I think SRS is also very strong. Then you have your mercenary, the grenade kind of thing, where you put in a gas cloud and then you ignite it up and let things explode, is also very, very insane. But the majority of other builds, which there are quite a lot, because obviously if you take a look, all of these skills could be made into a build. But I think most of them are completely trash compared to... wait, did I just use a level 11 Spark? Yep, I used a level 11 Spark. That is actually not good. But, okay, so it would just do more damage, okay? But anyways, so yeah, that is basically it for this character tryout. As I said, I'm gonna do probably a mercenary. I want to do some crossbow skills, not the OP grenade thing, but I want to do an attack-based build, see how that feels like, and then continue further into the journey of Path of Exile 2 Early Access. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.